that is completely up for grabs. But I wanted to share this right here. I was looking for this. Like, this is a survey from a year and a half ago. More than half of Republicans support Christian nationalism, and it's like, yeah. Is that a surprise to anybody? Like, is that a shock to anyone out there at all? That of course Republicans support Christian nationalism. It's what really gets them going. It's what motivates them to go out to school boards. It's what motivates them to get rid of any like queer. What is Republicans' problem with gay people? What is it? Well, what is it? It's not the fact that two men love each other is hurting them in any way. It's not the fact that they make up the fact that they're predators. No records, no stats to verify this belief whatsoever. It's rooted in Christian theology and a specific type of Christian theology. And it's like, yeah, we just God says you shouldn't do it, and so they move heaven and earth. They spent the better part of 2 decades now fighting gay people. Republicans lost their fucking mind because there was one trans person who held up a beer can for like 6 months. For like 6 months, that has nothing to do with anything except for religious bigotry on the part of Republicans. Let's see.
So Mark and Kyle are making interesting arguments here. So Kyle brought up Buddhism, and you also brought up Buddhism. So I want to say I really fucking like Buddhism as a system, a belief system. I think it's one of the best of the religions, mostly because it doesn't center around a god. But like. My problem with religion, and Mike brought it up too here, like, is Thomas Jefferson also a bad person? I don't think religion makes you a bad person. I think there's many good people who are religious. I think that having a belief system that something is always true and can never change is inevitably going to lead to more pain and suffering than believing that everything can be changed if faced enough evidence that it is wrong. Buddhism kind of works in a way where it's only personal. So in that sense, hey, you go at it. You're going to be proven right, or you are eventually going to be proven right, or you'll never know you are wrong. And if it makes you happy, it makes you happy. That's totally fine with me. But like that's not how most religions function, because religions that function like that don't spread.
Yeah, they have a hard time processing. Yeah, I don't know much about Buddhism either. I don't know a whole lot. I know that there's they have like this divine spark thing that's that's within us all, and the meditation, seeking nirvana, stuff like that. So yeah, Where did you see? Did you read a comment of someone asking if Thomas Jefferson was a bad person, or did you just bring that up? Because I don't see the comment over here.
Mark said that like Thomas Jefferson is a bad person.
We can continue to find fault with all sorts of previous leaders that they don't hold to our views.
Well, first of all, Thomas Jefferson, in my opinion, was a bad person because he raped children. That's kind of like a baseline. You're a bad person.
Yeah,
but that's kind of neither here. He could have still been a good president,
right?
You can do a lot of goddamn awful things and still be a good president. I don't really have an opinion on the Thomas Jefferson presidency. I'm not very well studied on it.
Yeah.
But I doubt he was one of the bad, or relatively one of the bad ones.
Hard to say Jefferson was a bad president. Really difficult to say that. He was. There's a reason he's on Mount Rushmore and the $2 bill, or whatever, and that he's revered among the founders. Now, one thing with history that John and I talk about a lot is, honestly, it's not just history, and this goes to what you're talking about, the left too, and how we have this overly judgmental problem, not just with everyone in general, but amongst ourselves, is that we tend to put people into good person, bad person boxes, and then it really stifles. Once it's a childish way to look at history or reality, but it stifles conversation, because if this would work on most Republicans. Vivek was right to do this, to say, oh well, what about Thomas Jefferson? It didn't happen to work on this guy, but 9 out of 10 times it would have worked. Where he says, oh well, you think Jefferson's a bad guy? So, well, of course Jefferson wasn't a bad guy. Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence. Jefferson was a slave owner, and they love that shit. So this would actually work on most people, but you can't look at things that way, because what ends up happening is like you have Abraham Lincoln, who's put in the good person box, and you're like, oh yeah, and so you grow up your whole life thinking Abe Lincoln, good person, it's synonymous essentially, and then someone comes along and says, well, you know, Abe Lincoln was responsible for the largest mass execution of Native Americans in U.S. history, and people's immediate response to that information is to fight back and say, oh, well, I'm sure there was a good reason, or, well, you know, you can't, why are you attacking Lincoln? Instead of just processing and say, okay, Lincoln did some things which were good. He also did some things that were bad, just like anybody, just like everybody. Now, you judge people by the actions they made and its effects on their society and on the world and upon history in general. But there is no good person and no bad person. That kind of person doesn't exist. But Jefferson's a good example of that because people automatically default. They don't know shit about Thomas Jefferson. They just know he wrote the Declaration. Maybe they might know he authored the Virginia Statute of Religious Freedom, which was the foundation for the First Amendment. They might know about, I don't know, the Louisiana Purchase, the oil embargo, the Barbary pirates. They might.
You are going way, like you're going to like maybe 8% of people.
Yeah, so but none of all of those are just actions he took as a politician, and then you took his personal actions. Like, oh, okay, these were horrendous. You don't got to judge, you know, him as an individual and how, or no, you don't have to take your evaluation of things he did through all of those lenses. Like, you can take those individually and move on from there, but people don't seem to do that.
So Mark also brought up, and Mark, I really hope you don't feel like we're picking on you, because we're not. I'm actually genuinely interested because you're okay. So first he says, and nothing's stopping from holding Republican ideas, right? I mean, I'm sure there are right wing ideas that you like. It depends how you define left and right wing. You said to Kyle, you don't see equality as a left-wing position fighting against injustice. But you know who did see equality as a left-wing position? Buckley, who you said was in your tent. And
That's Republican. True. He did say that.
He saw the equality of black people as a left-wing position. He was against equality, straight up, verbatim. And like you see that time and time again, the people who are against equality, if you look back at history, 90% of the time, they're right wingers. And there's a reason for that.
Or at least they're right wing in the context of the society in which they live. Yeah, because like you can look back on someone who was a left winger in the 40s and they would be a right winger today if they held that position. But at the time, hell, the founders were left wingers in the position, you know, during their time. So that's
exactly.
True.
And he brought up the CATH word. And this Mark, I gotta fight you tooth and nail on. Maybe you're not Roman Catholic. I don't know. Maybe you went to some Roman Catholic church that like I didn't fucking go to. But my Roman Catholic church were definitely fucking Christian nationalists. My priest got up on that fucking pulpit and advocated for political positions based on the Bible. He literally told us who to vote for because gay people are bad and evil. Like, that is what happened in my fucking Catholic church. And it's one of the many reasons I left my Catholic church. And it always blows my mind, and this is what always confuses me, as to how seemingly, like, you know, pro-equality conservatives will form a tent with people who are fundamentally against equality, who truly believe that the government should follow the Christian faith. Not even like, hey, we should follow these general tenets to live by. No, specifically the Christian faith. You have dozens of Republican politicians who say that verbatim. And as I said, I never hear like Republicans like yourself push back on them. I never hear you call them Christian nationalists. I never hear you tell them get the fuck out of our party, because I do that to the fucking the moderate Democrats. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I don't want to associate with you. I may vote for the same person for president, but we are not the same. I say that all the time. And I never hear that coming from the vast majority of Republicans when it comes to the Christian nationalists who swarm your party.
Yeah, I didn't. I always assumed that Catholics were. Then again, I grew up Protestant, so I always assumed Catholics were a little bit more liberal than us. But on the abortion thing, I imagine they definitely would
Mhm.
fall more in line with that. And I do think it's funny, though, bringing up Catholics as an example of, fair-minded Christians. I don't know if you guys are history buffs now or anything, but if you read like what the Catholic Church has done over the last 2,000 years, it ain't pretty. It ain't pretty at all. Catholics spent the better part of 2 millennia having no issue at all killing you if you disagreed with their specific interpretation of the Bible, even if you were a different Christian. Different type. Those were some of their favorite people to kill. Were different types of Christians. They couldn't wait to get around to it. So, but that just goes back to our John and I's whole thing that religion is nonsense and it's used to like bully people. I don't know. What do we have here? Red Scare Claire says, "Yep, I literally had that thought the other day. People are complex and do both good and awful things.
It's funny, like she says that, and it sounds almost dumb.
Right.
It sounds like almost something a dumb person would say. Like, yeah, of course, bro. But like, actually, that's probably a minority belief.
Yeah.
Like it seems so obvious, but like, yeah, that not many people actually view the world that way.
It's true. People they love we do it to people we know in our day-to-day lives. That's a good person. That's a bad person. It's like it's not that simple. It doesn't really work that way. Mark says, "Guys, it's fine. I'm quite comfortable chatting with you guys. It's no attack. We appreciate it." Mark, I haven't heard back about your thoughts on William F. Buckley, though. I did ask that question about 20 minutes ago. You brought him up, not me. I'm just saying. That's just let's see. We can define the left as a loose collection of liberating impulses, freeing people from systems of hierarchy. Is the definition of political equality and its left position. Yeah. So what I always say in defining left and right, if you guys want to know the actual origin of left and right, it goes back to the French Revolution, and when the Estates General met, the people who when the revolution was occurring, the group sat on two sides of the speaker. The group that supported the monarchy sat on the right side of the room, and the group that supported, the revolution sat on the left side of the room. That is where we get our foundational concepts of left and right wing, because conservatives love hierarchy, and that's what it's always been about. Like conservatism is all about the preservation of hierarchies, and left wing is about disaggregation of hierarchies. That's really what it comes down to.
Absolutely nailed that. And that, like, hierarchy is the key point, and it truly does define across the political spectrum, because they're like tankies who fucking believe in hierarchy, and I find myself to agree with them less than I do with fucking liberals, and it's just like, yeah, that need for hierarchy is really what defines left wing versus right wing. And as long as there is hierarchy, by default, there cannot be equality. Like it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it's why so many of us are anti-capitalist, because honestly, conservatism is kind of at odds with democracy. It really is, which is, they tell you this all the time. How many times do you hear conservatives say, well, this isn't a democracy, this is a republic, when it's both? Just so you guys know, if you hear someone say this, ask them to define the word republic. What does republic mean? They probably won't be able to tell you. But a republic is essentially a system of government in which there is a representative for a group of people, which is either appointed or elected or whatever, like however the representative got there. I am speaking for X number of people. That is a republic. And a democracy is a system in which the powers of the people and the people vote. We elect our representatives through democratic means. There's no separation of this, but they act like it's some kind of clever gotcha. But with the reason that some of us are anti-capitalist is that the way Republicans, or conservatives, will argue for capitalism is that this is kind of democratic, because if you want to buy widgets from someone, and John and I are both selling widgets, and neither of us have an advantage, we're both selling widgets. Whoever makes the best widgets, people will vote with their dollars. But here's the thing. If you have more dollars, you get more votes. And that fucks up the entire system. Like, our democratic system to elect people into office wouldn't work if I had 1 million votes and John has 2,000 votes. It doesn't work. But that's exactly how capitalism works, that you can play the market, and then once I get an advantage, I'm going to use those votes to assess more power for myself and squeeze John out, and the goal is a monopoly. We don't think that should exist because I think we've seen the effects of the damage that could cause. What do we have here? What do you want me to do, John? I mean, I'm saying it on a globally popular podcast. You wait. Just you